Evening, welcome to Good Guys Sports. Good evening, welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke alongside with Blake Wernberger, Mike Roby, and our special guest for this week. And we'll have our second one come on shortly for a little later. But right now we are joined by Uncle Bobby Robert Benson, along with Uncle Mike and Mike Roby, and later if he's able to make it, Blake Wernberger. Let's start the show on our way back right now, but let's start us off with some with the Braves. The Braves have been eliminated, and they have and they have and they have lost to the same team, the Phillies. Yeah, Grant, it's great to have you on. I'm glad that everybody is on board here in Good Guys Sports. Yeah, we were just we just started our show on Good Guys Sports, and yeah, it's a tough one for you guys in Atlanta. The Braves, the Phillies have closed you guys out in the second year in a row. The Braves, just like that, are have get knocked out and lost in the first round for the second year in a row. Guys, not a great day for not a great day for us who are born and raised in ATL and live through all this and deal with this yet again. Grant, just tough
Jackson,
feelings here. Just tough, just tough, just a tough one.
That's a tough way to start there, Jackson.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
So
Open
Acuna,
it up with
the MVP, gets all of 2 hits in the 4 games with the Phillies. He batted a .143, but he had 2 more hits than Harris. Harris was goose egg for the 4 games. He had a tremendous catch in the outfield, but oh my goodness.
Why do you sound so happy when you're saying all this?
Not happy, really.
Yeah, but, I mean, gosh, it was a tough way to go out.
Whoever packed their bats should have packed better.
Well, they should have packed the Phillies bats because they were hitting everything that was being thrown. I think it seemed like the Phillies were using metal bats and the Braves had wood bats, to be honest. So I think the air quality must have been thin up there in Philadelphia because they've been hitting everything like far out of Citizens Bank, including the series right now versus Arizona. So I don't know even if we played our best, would we have still beaten the Phillies given how well they're hitting the ball? Maybe you could argue they would have taken it to 5, but I mean, I don't know. Like Bryce Harper's turned into, Mickey Mantle, so I'm not sure what else we could have done, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, bottom line is
Schwab.
Bottom line is the Braves didn't show up,
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that we can win 104 games and we can get just absolutely dominated in the one series that mattered. But the frustrating thing was we were actually in 2 of the games that we lost. Despite having such a terrible performance, we still had chances to win at any point. Acuna's got the bases loaded, and he hit the fly out. We leave the game up to Vaughn Grissom, the guy who's been down in the minors all year. It's like, how do we end up with that guy being the last out? And I just think there was just, I think Strider pitched well. It's just, the Phillies had their, they hit 3 solo shots off him. It's like, what is he supposed to do? He doesn't have any support, so he's got to pitch, really, really tight. Oh man, tough to watch.
Throw game 3 out because that was definitely a loss. But the other 3 games, the Braves were right in there if they had some offense. They had the pitching. I mean, Strider went 7 innings in game 1, and he went 5 2/3 in game 4. I mean, it was, oh my goodness.
Enough to make you sick. It's enough to make you sick.
What about the Orioles, Rob?
Yeah, it's been a tough week or 2 to be in my house and be a sports fan. The Orioles, I agree. How can you win 100 games? And then it's like, just ran into a buzzsaw with those Rangers. I mean, they hit similar to the Phillies. I mean, they just seem to hit everything we threw. and hit it hard. And then we couldn't. We were in game one, and that was it. It was done after that. So that was tough, but I'm, everybody's real positive about the youthfulness of the Orioles and the fact that they really think they'll be back, at least in contention next year in some way. So we got that to look forward to. We just need a little more pitching, maybe. To
Well,
help us out.
the Nationals were in it until April.
That's tough.
What, so, Uncle Rob, you think it was more so like just playoff inexperience, or do you think like Texas was just overwhelming, and even if they had a couple of veterans, they weren't going to put a dent in them?
I think that the week off kind of hurt the Orioles a little bit, particularly their pitching. You would think that they'd be a little sharper or well rested, but I don't know. I mean, I look back on it, and I don't think we didn't play poorly defensively. There weren't many mistakes. It's not like we gave them base runners or gave them extra outs, that kind of thing. They just slammed the ball. They got all the timely hits. It just seemed like it all went their way. So I mean, there's not much you can do when the baseball gods are just smiling on one team like that. But it sure was disappointing after such a good season for the Orioles.
Well, the Orioles starting pitching combined for 8 innings.
Yep.
20 hits and 13 runs.
Yep. They just blistered the starting pitching. And starting pitching that wasn't that bad, obviously, through the regular season.
No, it couldn't have been. Never would have.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They just hit the ball. They hit the ball where we weren't, and they got the home runs that were timely. The grand slams, the 3-run homers, that just killed us.
Yeah,
and then top it off with I'm sure, Jack, you'll bring up the miracle win that Houston pulled off over the Mountaineers on the last play of the game, but I'm sure that's down the road.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure it'll be talked a lot.
It's a sad day on my house. Sad week.
Yeah, it'll be talked a lot in the sports world. No doubt about it.
So what do you?
I was one of the few guys watching that game live. I saw it and I was like, man, I can't believe that just happened. You watch West Virginia come down. It's great. They run a great switch play where they confuse the defense and catch the touchdown pass. And you gotta knock the ball down or knock it out the back of the end zone or something.
Yeah, and they really shouldn't have been in that position. The 15-yard penalty after the what appeared to be the winning touchdown, that hurt us because they ran one play to the sideline and they had a legit shot at throwing the ball to the end zone. But without that penalty, they don't have a chance to get the ball to the end zone. Oh well. It's just sports, right? There'll be another game, another day.
Yeah, hopefully. Lordy. Jack, what do you think about your Duke Blue Devils have had a couple of hiccups here.
Yeah,
in Tigers,
but we just suffered a loss to Notre Dame, and it was just a tough pill to swallow. I can tell you that much, but since then they just I think they bounced back and had a bye week, and I think they beat NC State this past week, and now we'll see just where it goes from here.
They go down to Florida State this weekend.
Yes, they play at Tallahassee, which I hear is a huge Florida State point favorites in this one. So Duke's going to have to use all the underdog mentality to even pull this one off. But all I'm saying is, if Duke wants to win this game at Florida State, they're going to have to pull off something special. Otherwise, it's going to be too much Florida State in this one.
I'm a Florida State fraud guy. I think that they should have lost to Clemson. they were outgained and outplayed in that game, and yet they still pulled out a victory somehow because we just like to give it back to the team that doesn't play as well to win. But yeah, I think they got a chance, Jack. They'll go down there if they play well, they play some defense, hold them under 100 yards rushing. They got a shot.
Yeah, I know it's pretty hostile environment down there in Tallahassee, so it seems like a lot for like the Duke team's kind of they're having a good season. They don't have a lot of experience in big like away wins in football and stuff like that compared to like a Clemson or a Florida State in that conference. So it seems like a big ask for them to go down to a undefeated Florida State and get a win. But the way they're playing, I wouldn't put it past them, but I can understand why Florida State is favored by a lot. So
is Clemson gonna beat Miami and Miami?
that's a bit of a divided game for your house, right?
Yeah, so I'm going down. I'll be on a plane tomorrow to get down there, and so I can't wear a paw on my shirt. I gotta be incognito, but I will be cheering for the Tigers. I want that to be known and on the docket. But I will be a guest of the Hurricanes, so I can't be too loud. But I do believe that the Tigers will come down there. I think that they'll play well they had a bye week. They've gotten a little bit healthier. They've come back from, just a couple of devastating losses, obviously at the beginning of the season. And then, a weird game with Wake at home, just, 5-point win there. Like, I think the offense, this is the week. They're going to come in and actually perform to what they're capable of. And now I do know this, though, last year at the end of the game, there was about 30 seconds left and Coach Sweeney scored. And I know that if Coach Cristobal is given the opportunity, he will run the score up on the Tigers, just because of that, a little bit of bad blood from the end of the game, scoring touchdowns when you're up 30-0. So I know that there is some animosity. So I expect a very physical game at 8 p.m. down in Hard Rock.
Well, all I can say is have fun. Enjoy it with the Radakoviches, and I think that you'll have a great time. And the one advice I would give you is that it's going to be warm, not like here, but where we are in these parts of the ACC. But if I were you, I would just go shortless and in this hot weather. But depending on what
Shirtless, huh?
What kind of kickoff, but yeah, obviously, yeah.
I don't know if the athletic directors. I don't think the AD's box lets you do that probably in Hard Rock.
Yeah,
So
you-
Jackson,
I
I've noticed your T-shirt.
Yes,
Show it to us.
I am wearing my usual shirt that I got from my dad's brother-in-law, his family rather, that I got for my birthday. Want to get a shout out to the Nasuro family that gave me this, which is a You Guys Sports podcast. Want to turn it around here?
Very nice.
Fail someone.
Ooh, wow.
Nice.
Yes. Nice.
Just want to throw it out there. Hope they're tuning in and watch my show very soon. Hope that I get them on soon.
Good stuff.
All right,
Outstanding.
let's move on now to the NFL. So now I want to talk things locally with this topic with Uncle Mike and Uncle Rob. So I was watching one of the talk radio shows up in DC, and my biggest takeaway from what I heard is what they did the Sam ow impression. So they were just so fired up, and they were just so fired up, and they were just talking about how Sam Howell was the quarterback. But my only issue and problem with him is that he gets sacked and he has too many picks. And although this quarterback really should have stayed healthy, because if he isn't starting quarterback going forward, then I think Jacoby Brissett would have been their better option. But from what I understand, the Commanders did come off a win against the Falcons, and this game was being played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and And I know,
he had 0 picks
Yeah.
I know,
against the Falcons.
but from what I have read and heard, my biggest takeaway is that a win is a win, like Ron Rivera said. But the game wasn't always pretty and
Even
great,
against the
even though-
Falcons.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and they went up
Maybe
against
half a win.
Desmond Ritter and the Falcons. Was being played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I know that Uncle Rob and I lived down there most of our time during our time down there. But as you know, I went to school and lived most of my life there. Yes, that's right. For most of my time there in high school and middle school, in my elementary, spent most of my life down there. But I still haven't been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is weird because my family still hasn't got tickets to a game there or ever been to an event there. But from what I hear, they actually have some cheap food and drink options there in one of the sections. In
Jackson, why don't we
Stadium.
let
So,
Uncle Mike and Uncle Rob give their thoughts on the Commanders season so far?
Well, the Commanders lead the league in sacks allowed. We've allowed 34 sacks already this year. But I
Beat
think
up.
half of those are probably attributed to Sam Howell holding the ball too long.
Not Sam
But-
Howell, but Sam Howell. Right.
Oh,
But that's okay.
oh, I think Jack was talking about some people have issues. I mean, my only problem with Sam Howell is that he's not a very good quarterback. But apart from that, I think the Commanders.
Don't be a hater. How do you really feel?
Well, I feel the
Jeez,
same about
boy.
I feel the same about Desmond Ritter, to be honest. So that's why I didn't watch the game last week.
Yeah. He had 3 picks,
Yeah,
Well,
you know.
not ideal.
I flip back and forth between the Ravens and the Commanders though. So and Lamar, they pulled out a win. Baltimore's
Well, the big game in Baltimore this weekend against the Lions.
yeah, the
Lions
Lions are
coming to town.
Yeah,
5-1.
that's a
Eagles
good
are
game.
5-1.
I think Goff is a good quarterback for the Lions. I think
Yeah. Lions,
statistically, he and Jackson are like neck and neck.
yeah. That should be a
But
good
the
game. I
Lions-
think they're having a good season. Yeah, I think Ravens look like they should definitely. That division is actually pretty competitive this year. Pittsburgh somehow is staying afloat. Cleveland and Cincinnati are kind of that's probably like the most competitive division in the NFL, I'd say.
good point.
Yeah.
For
And,
all of
and,
the
and- and- yeah, and the one, a couple more things I want to add. The Commanders have actually won their last few games against the Dirty Birds of Atlanta. So do want to point that out there for any of our viewers on the show. And yeah, and the other thing is that Jonathan Sweat and those big defensive players. And yes, the game wasn't always pretty. Like I said, even though the Commanders found a way to win, they didn't really play their best ball in that game, even though it was a win. But next up, the Commanders are on the road in the Meadowlands, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, across the Hudson River, taking on the New York Football Giants. Last I checked, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley has owned the Commanders in the last few games, including that one last time they met up there was tied. And
Yeah.
and
It's a new season now.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
How many touchdowns the Giants have passed for in the last 4 games?
Yeah, none.
None.
And including in the first half where they did poor execution by their young rookie quarterback, whoever his name is, and then yeah, just poor execution from the Giants offense in the first half. And Coach
I
Stable,
think if you combine the Giants and the Jets together, you might have a good team.
yeah, I think you might be right, but yeah. So there were so many flags in this game. It was a low scoring affair, and then the game just and then it was on Sunday Night Football game these last two teams last met in the Super Bowl back in the early '90s when the Giants won in the field goal. But this one went down the wire in the last second game after the PI penalty, where it was a last second throw in the end zone where he was trying to find his man, what it looked like in the end zone, except it was defended by one of the Bills players, and that's how the Bills survived. Think about it. Think about if the Bills were to lose this game and the Giants win, we could be having a whole conversation. But luckily the Bills got away with this one, and they were lucky that they got the win. But the Giants,
Well, last
yeah,
year,
you're right, Mike.
was last
They
year
got it.
the game when the
Good
Giants
thing is
something happened at the end of the game. I was actually at the game, I think, with the Giants late in the season, and a call was some kind of formation call against the Commanders that gave the game to the Giants. Was it last year? I just remember going to a game. It was really cold. I think it was against the Giants, and Barkley was, running amok, literally. But there was a call at the end of the game that everybody was upset about. That essentially gave the game to the Giants. I remember that because I was freezing and disappointed.
Yeah, I bet you were. We can relate.
So, Jackson, I wanted to talk about the big matchup this week on Sunday Night Football between the Philadelphia Eagles and high-flying Miami Dolphins. I think this has got to be one of the best games of the season. I'm looking forward to this one. And Grant, you're probably looking forward to this game too, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely tune in. I like watching, great offense, and I like watching speed, and the Dolphins have it in spades. But I'm looking to see that old Jalen Carter gentleman from Philly have a big game there and really get in and get after Tua. Tua hadn't really been tested too much with a lot of pressure, so I'm excited to see if Jalen Carter can provide some pressure to Tua. See if we can get some interesting some ball played there. I think Jalen Carter is going to be the key to that game.
Yeah, it's certainly a big style clash where the Eagles rely on the big linemen, the big guys, all the guys they get from Alabama and Georgia on that big defensive line, and Dolphins like to just fling the ball down to Tyreek and he runs amok, to use a phrase Uncle Rob mentioned earlier. But yeah, no, that should be interesting because if the Eagles if early in that game they can't stop the Dolphins, that might get out of hand. But then, like you said, it might go the other way where Tua gets roughed up by Carter and their other big defensive linemen and linebackers. That'll be an interesting one to watch for sure.
I'm not sure if the Eagles are going to lose 2 in a row.
Also at home as well, games in Philadelphia, it'll be a bit colder. That's a huge advantage for them. And yeah, you wouldn't bet on the Eagles losing twice in a row. Yeah. Particularly the fact that they lost to the Jets, last week. That was a
and I also want to point out that we know that there's no longer unbeaten teams in the NFL, which means the 49ers lost to the Browns in a late second field goal. The Eagles lost the Jets, like I mentioned, in a fourth down play. Jets finally beat the Eagles for the first time after the previous 0-12 times before that. But the Jets found a way to win, and it was and they'll be and the Jets will definitely, and Robert Saleh will be definitely celebrating this one in the locker room. And it's even hard to believe that they got it done without Aaron Rodgers and Sauce Gardner. That's even remarkable and hard to believe. Like, how does that even happen? Although I go back to the Bills game against the Jets, and they still found a way to win without Aaron Rodgers, and he was warmed up in the sideline. Crazy. I don't know how that stuff happens in the NFL, but it does. But yeah, those Jets just somehow snuck in there and found a way to beat the Eagles because although Jalen Hurts didn't play his best game from what I've read, and because of that, I think the Eagles might find it. Although the Eagles will bounce back eventually in the next game, but you talk about the first loss of the season for the Eagles, and and now there's no unbeaten teams, which means the 72 Dolphins will be celebrating with some champagne with Don Sula. Will continue to celebrate, and I think that's going to feel good for him after those top NFL teams going down, which is
Didn't the
a real
49ers field a goal kicker miss a kick at the end of the game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Got a little wild kicking going on there.
Yeah. And it wasn't that
tough.
long. I mean, it wasn't that long of a field goal. It was like
43. He's a rookie
43.
kicker out of Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the reaction from the 310-pound lineman on the sideline? He was not happy, and I thought, yeah, I don't think I'd want to be that kicker going back to that sideline with that guy not happy.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you want
watched
to
that
see it. You know, I queued up. I'm able to share my screen. I can play this play that I was trying to talk about the Redskins or the Commanders and the Giants from last December, which might give the Commanders a little motivation going into
All
this
right.
one. Let's see. I don't know. I don't think I have the ability to screen share, but it was last December. It was a pass interference call that was not called in the end zone at the end of the game. And because the refs didn't want to call it, Commanders didn't get another play. It was a shame. I only remember it because while I was freezing, I was sitting in that end zone right there in front of it where it happened, you know, and with my non-credentials as a referee, I clearly would have made that call.
So you were at Fed Up Field?
Yeah, we were at Fed Up, and I was bundled up as best I could, but it still wasn't
Bundled
enough.
up and fed up.
Brutally cold that night.
Mm.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. So before we move on to the next topic, I do want to recap one more time that the Lions are 5-1, 49ers are 5-1, Dolphins are 5-1, Eagles 5-1, and then the Chiefs are 5-1. So those are your top contenders and for the AFC and NFC in the NFL for as of right now. But yeah, the more has yet to come for what lies ahead for the NFL for this upcoming Sunday and throughout. Now I also want to get to mention one other thing I do want to point out that for the Commanders that their new that Ron Rivera's new practice and their new memo is, I want to bring Uncle Robin and Mike Roby for this, is for Ron Rivera's new message to the team is do your job. He's like copycatting what Bill Belichick did for the Patriots, and I got to ask you, is that a good or a bad thing for the team? Now I feel like that Coach Rivera is stealing Bill Belichick's line. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good thing.
Really? You think
Yeah,
so?
I think so. I mean, do your job. It's nice and crisp and simple.
Yeah, but it's not a very good time to steal from Bill Belichick right now. Have you seen his
Well,
record?
you know, when you're stealing things, you steal good things. You know, that was one of his things that he did well. So I'm okay with that. I wouldn't take anything he says this year because, you know, the Patriots aren't doing too well, but I'm okay with that. It kind of goes along with Davey Martinez. Go 1-0 today. Don't worry about next week. Don't worry about the next game. Go 1-0. So I kind of put that in that same category. Just do your job. It's a simple game. All you got to do is tackle better and block better than the other team, and you win.
If we add up all the little things, the steps, the details, you add up all those details, and that's what's going to make the difference in the game right there. You know, there's all these different phrases, but at the end of the day, the players got to go out there and make 5 more plays than the other team, and that's when you win.
To me, it's very much like, you know, Lombardi. Something that Lombardi would have said. You know,
So are you comparing Ron Rivera to Lombardi?
no, I'm just comparing the sentiment, not comparing to
I mean, they
no.
might have the same shoe size, but apart from that, I'm
Yeah,
not too sure.
yeah, that's okay.
Would you compare Bill Belichick to
Lombardi,
Lombardi?
no. Well,
I think it's kind of interesting that once you don't have the quarterback, the stud quarterback, suddenly you become average like everybody else, right?
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how many plays Bill Belichick played during
Yeah.
all that time.
Well, just
Not many.
look at the
Was he
quarterbacks
on the
that
field?
Joe Gibbs had. He really didn't have. I mean, he had Joe Theismann.
Yeah.
He had, Doug Williams, who was the second string quarterback under Jay Schrader, and he won a Super Bowl with Mark Rippon.
Yeah.
So
Don't forget Billy Kilmer.
yeah,
I think he came in one game, didn't
yeah. So anyway, I mean, you can have a great coach. You don't necessarily have to have a great quarterback. You just got to block
You
and
guys think
tackle
John
better.
Riggins? Come on.
he? John Riggins. But I think that's what the NFL has done incredibly well is they've year after year, the parity is just, it makes it fun, because any day anybody can beat anybody, because there's just a fine line as far as the parity across the league. And I think that makes it fun because it's not like, no offense to baseball, but my Orioles, for 20 years or so, I mean, you go for these huge droughts and people it's just exhausting, the losing. And you've got the big market teams that, tough to compete against all that talent, especially when you've got as many games as they play. Over time, it's just going to wear on you. And I think that happened in baseball this year. You saw some teams have a shot because they changed the schedule. You weren't playing so many games in your own division, especially for the AL East. I mean, we didn't have to play the Yankees 20 sometimes or the Blue Jays 20 sometimes. It cut down on the in division play, which I think was good because you got to see other teams around the league, both nationally and American.
I think the new rules that baseball put in helped make the game more exciting. The pizza boxes for the bases and the pitch clock, and the no shift helped the offense. So I think that kudos for baseball for innovating a little bit with not tweaking the game but not changing it a whole lot.
Yep.
So I want to go back to the Braves for a second. So I did some research and did a theory of the example for the number one seed being eliminated for the second year in a row as a top seed. So I did a comparison and I did my research, and you compared that with the four North American sports. You top that, and with the best record in the MLB, you top that. Compare that with the NHL, with the Boston Bruins with the best record in the NHL. Kind of the same thing, except in a different sport. So you think about it, they get upset by a surprise team, kind of like what the Braves did. Although the Bruins had a great year and won division in the regular season, but as history tells itself, the best team doesn't always win in the postseason. And you guys made the argument on this. That it's very true, and I do think I have to say that whenever like a top seeded team wins this division title during the end of the regular season doesn't always turn out and be the same like you guys said in the postseason. So I think which is a for example of it. So I do think it does play a factor in this what the teams capability of how those teams show up and never quit on themselves that they play against, and they always feel a lot of pressure. And I think that's what it really comes down to. And I just think that it really is just that really how it plays out for each team in their sports representatively. and that's just usually how it goes for in a way of how weird things do happen. Like we said earlier in the show, that anything can happen, especially especially for any college or pro team. But you just never know. You just never know if you're if you're going to lose that opponent. But it happens. But that's just something you got to live with.
There, you know what,
Yeah.
Jackson? I think to fix baseball, the only fair thing to do would be to award the World Series to the team that won the most games in the regular season. So whoever that was this year, I think deserves to win the World Series, given all the crazy upsets that have happened. So that's what I'm gonna propose that to the commissioner, and we'll see if we can get the playoffs canceled and just get this trophy back to Atlanta as quickly as possible.
I agree with that point. I got to jump. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Grant. Have a good time in Miami.
Good to see you. Bye.
Grant,
Safe flight.
have a great time and enjoy your trip. And
All right, Jack.
have a great time. Talk to you soon. See ya.
Well, I think
All right,
there's a lot to be said for
Yeah.
the teams that get the bye, because that bye doesn't really help them a whole lot, and I think it hinders them, particularly in baseball, because you got to have the momentum. I mean, you just can't stop playing ball and rest and then get back into the game mode.
Yep, we couldn't hit. The Orioles were a great
You know,
example of that. We couldn't
Well,
hit.
it's like Max last night. He pitched one inning and then that was it.
Boom.
They should have pulled him
Kershaw as
earlier.
well, right?
But yeah, Kershaw. I mean, you just, after, some time off, I mean, it's almost like they're going back to spring training. I think Astros have only been the only exception to that rule. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, baseball, you survive the regular season just to sneak into the playoffs, and then once you reach the playoffs, it's a totally different and brand new season.
Yep.
And
Especially
got
best of five.
Yeah.
Best of five, it goes so quick,
Yeah. Maybe they should do with hockey that, every playoff series is the best of 7, but then you'll be playing till December.
Play double headers.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said. The Boston Bruins, with the best record in the NHL, compare that with the Atlanta Braves, are a few examples of how a team gets knocked out in the postseason, but has a great year and wins a lot of games in the regular season. They are like the Braves, and I just want to point that out for all of our viewers here on Good Guy Sports. Bruins are like the Atlanta Braves for Boston.
Boston Braves. Yeah, look, listen, I don't know what else to say, to be honest. Like the Braves, the Orioles, the Dodgers, they just didn't get it done. It is what it is. Sometimes you have to eat a big bowl of humble pie.
Yeah. Well, even the Dodgers. I mean, Freddie and Betts. I think they had one hit between them. I mean,
They are playing golf.
They're playing golf right now. They're playing golf with my Nationals.
Yeah.
Jack, what's the next topic on our docket today?
All right, we will make predictions a little later, but I want to get to another topic, and I want to talk some throwback stuff now. Right now, I want to get Uncle Mike and Blake's and Uncle Rob's take on this. Did any of you? I want to ask if any of you were able to catch the Jaguars Falcons Toy Story edition game, because that's something I actually grew up in my childhood, and I want to ask if you know about this. I think this is the second time ESPN did this, like animation stuff. The last time they did it was with hockey, with some Disney XD show. I want to ask Uncle Mike and Uncle Rob if you ever heard about it or ever watched it, and I want to ask you, did you hear anything about this, and did you ever tune in and watch it? And if you did, were you impressed by it?
I admit I'm clueless.
Yeah, I don't
know nothing about it.
I don't know. I have watched both Toy Story and Shrek in the last 2 weeks though, as a result of my grandson. But I'm not familiar with a Toy Story game. Is this like an
Yes.
animated game?
Yeah, so basically for the Jaguars and Falcons played in London, I guess that was like 2 weeks ago, maybe at this point, and they had like a secondary broadcast where it was essentially like virtual, everything was made virtual inside of like a Toy Story type world.
Oh, but
which-
not the game. In other words, like the Manning brothers do as commentators on a different network for Monday Night Football.
yeah, yeah,
Or was the entire game animated?
no, it was, yeah. So they used like a virtual, like augmented reality type thing. I'll see if I can try and find like a picture. It really just, it kind of just looks like a video game type thing almost, where but it's like inside
Oh.
of like the Andy's room and Toy Story kind of thing. So like there's
Oh,
like all these like
see.
fun little things for kids to watch basically. So they're trying to, the NFL has been experimenting with some broadcasts like that. They did one on Nickelodeon last year that was like a slime broadcast, and like I think they had a SpongeBob one too at some point. So for all you kids out there that are looking to get into the NFL or have little kids that might not like it otherwise, there's something to entice them. I guess they didn't it's a far cry from the CBS broadcast back in the 80s, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What remember
Well,
the broadcast?
I remember when instant replay was a thing.
Yeah. Remember the broadcast when they experimented with no announcers at all? They just played the game, and it was
Yeah.
like white noise. They didn't do that too much.
Oh.
Not so much. It was like New Coke. Didn't work out so well.
I remember the playoff game they had in Chicago where it was so foggy they only could do the field level cameras. That's the ones in the press box where it was too you couldn't see the field. That
Forget
was
it.
kind of
What was the game? What was the game where they had like blue jerseys and green jerseys or something, and nobody could tell the difference? Everybody had a headache by the time the game was over, trying to figure out who was who.
Do you guys
Yeah,
have a
some silly things in the past.
so Jackson, I think you said you wanted to make some predictions before we
Yeah.
close the show out, right?
Yes, that's what my mom, producer, was telling me, and we're gonna do that right now. So
And a fine producer she is.
that's right. Gotta respect her for what she does. All right, so let's get to our predictions now and see who's gonna win and go to the World Series. So as of right now, I have the Astros as the American League champions and the Phillies going to the World Series in the second year in a row. The Astros have liftoff, and they will bounce back, and they will come back in this, and they will come from behind the series, and they will win the AL pennant. They'll go to the World Series, and they will meet the Phillies again the second year in a row. And I know people don't like it and hate it when I make my prediction, but I'm going to be sticking with it. And I know they don't want to hear this, but I'll stick with it, and I'm going to say it again. The Astros and the Phillies will meet again in the World Series. I know that people are foolish about me on my predictions. I know they don't like it, but the Astros and Phillies will make it to the World Series once again.
What about everybody else?
Listen, I wish that you weren't correct, but actually I'm gonna stick with Texas. I think I'm not gonna be dissuaded from the game last night where they lost, and they're playing tonight as well, so we'll know a lot more information tomorrow, obviously, if Texas takes a 3-1 lead. But I'm gonna say Texas topples the Houston dynasty. I think they have what Philly has in terms of just red hot hitting. You could argue Houston has that too, but I think Texas jumping out to that 2-0 lead. I think Houston will take it 6 or 7, but I'm going to stick with Texas, and obviously I'll take Philadelphia. But I don't want to pick the Phillies to win the World Series, so I'll take Texas over. Texas over Philadelphia in the World Series. Honestly, I mean, personally, I think it's a bit of these 4 teams, it's a bit of a boring mix, to be honest. Because apart from you have the Astros and Phillies who were in it last year, and then in terms of new teams, Texas, Arizona, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't get me particularly excited. I would have much preferred Baltimore and Atlanta making it this far, but obviously you can't have your cake and eat it too. So long story short, Texas over Philly for me.
I'm going with the ex-Washington Senators.
The Expos?
No. Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers.
Bob Short moved the Washington Senators to Texas, and they became the Texas Rangers. I'm going to pick the Texas Rangers over the Astros. I think the Rangers have got some good pitching, Max aside, but I think they're starting pitching, and I think they're fairly equal in their bats. So I'm going to take the Texas Rangers, and unfortunately, no offense to any of the Philly fans, I think the Phillies are going to end up winning the World Series, and Harper will finally get his ring. But I will be rooting for the Rangers to go. I think the series will go 6. The Phillies will win it in 6. Now, interesting though, if the Rangers go to the World Series, the Rangers will have the home field advantage because they beat the Phillies in the head-to-head matchups during the regular season. If the Astros go to the World Series, Philly will have the home field advantage because they beat the Astros in the head-to-head competition. If the Astros win the AL and play the Phillies will definitely win because of the home field advantage. But what the Rangers got going for them is Philly will not have the home field advantage in the World Series.
So it's not a record thing?
They've all won 90 games.
Oh, they all have the same record.
They all
Wow.
have identical records.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
So it's a head-to-head matchup.
So it's no longer the All-Star Game winners. They don't do that anymore.
It's no longer the All-Star Game winners. It's the best record, regardless if you won the division or not. But all those teams, if the Diamondbacks were to win it, they would definitely be the visiting team. But of the Astros, the Rangers, and the Phillies, they've all won 90 games. They have identical records. But if the Rangers get in, the Rangers will have home field advantage.
Another reason I like the increased interleague play. I think that's good.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, from a fan to be able to see other teams coming into the stadium, I think it's a great thing. I mean, It gets a little boring seeing the same division rivalries all the time.
20 sometimes, yeah, for sure.
Playing your division rivalries, 19 times a year, that's a bit much. So I think splitting it like they did helps aid in the parity across baseball.
Yep.
And it was good. I liked being at the games and having the games end under three hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good thing. I was a little apprehensive about the size of the bases, but you get a lot of people, a lot more stolen bases. Makes it exciting. I definitely liked the no shift. You know, put some more offense in there. I think that really has
Yep.
helped. But anyway, Rob, what's your prediction?
I'm going to go. This will be a shocker. I'm going with the commissioner calling off the playoffs and the Braves being named the World Series champions, just as Blake predicted.
That a boy.
Yeah, I think
I'll pay
that's
you after
the
the
only,
show.
that's the only fair thing to do. But I will go Texas and Philadelphia. But and I think Texas wins it in 6. And I think Scherzer gets a win in the World Series. How about that?
Well,
I
there
think
you
he
go.
comes back
There's
to-
your trifecta right there.
Yep. I
Bold
think that's what
statement
happened.
by Uncle Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
All
All
right,
right,
Jack.
Jack, you want to wrap things up for today?
All right, I'm gonna close things out. Just got back here at just wrapping us up here. Jackson Gerke wrapping us up here at the Duke University campus, and Blake Gerke, Mike Roby, and Uncle Rob as a special guest for this week. Great to have you back on. I hope I get you guys back on soon. I'm sorry we can't get Blake Lumberger on, but I'm sure he is watching since he can't join us this week. But Blake, if you're listening, we missed having you on the show. Can't wait to have you back on soon. We'll get you back on eventually. Blake, Mike, Uncle Rob, great to have all of you on. Hope that everybody is right in their predictions. And another great week of Good Guys Sports. I'm Jack Doherty signing off. Great to have you guys. Thanks for being with us. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Thanks,
care.
Jack.
Everybody.
All right.
Thanks, fellas.
Bye now.
See ya.
Go
Thanks,
Liverpool.
Rob. See you, Mike.